I guess this isn't really in a way a sequel, but it's an evolution of the band's sound and the band themselves. We're of course talking about the new Foo Fighters album, but here we are. I was not ready to hear this album for the first time, because I knew all of the singles had to do with Taylor's passing and like death in general.
Last one.
Because
I know some of these are about his mom too. So
yeah, well, I didn't realize that his mom even passed until I opened up the CD and it was like for Taylor and for Virginia, and I was like, oh damn,
yeah,
that's rough. Yeah. So what was your expectations? What were your expectations for the album, like when we got the first couple of singles? Because we got the first 2 tracks on the album released early, and like only 2 weeks ago. Like they started releasing singles for this thing like within a month of it releasing. I think it was the beginning of May.
Yeah.
When we got Rescued, we got Under You, and then Show Me How, that was the point where you stopped listening to the singles. But what were your expectations after not having an album from them in a while, and after, losing their drummer?
I thought the whole album was gonna be very sad and like low key chill, not very high energy, and for the most part it is.
Yeah.
But we do get some up-tempo songs in here, or at least moments. And I was just very curious on what this thing was going to sound like.
Yeah, and I feel like for the most part it still sounds like a Foo Fighters record. Like it's not drastically different from stuff that they've done before. In fact, I think some songs on here, and we were talking about this a little bit prior to the release of the album, there are some songs on here that sound like they were written during different eras of the Foo Fighters discography. Like some of these songs sound like I know I heard Rescued for the first time and I was like, oh, this was off of In Your Honor. Like this sounds like something off that album. Or like Show Me How is probably my favorite song on the record. It's very melancholy, but it feels very like, I don't know. Some people have compared it to like 90s songwriting, and I'm like, okay, this could have been off of Color in the Shape, like February Stars a little bit. But yeah, no. So what did you think about like the slower songs? Because we definitely have a couple. I know, The Glass and Beyond Me are kind of like slower songs. So what do you?
Just want to say, I think that this album is the best Dave Grohl has ever sounded vocally. And I really like the way he's singing a lot of these, like The Glass, or But It's Beyond Me, when he's singing like really up high. Right. I think it sounds really good. A lot of catchy choruses. I'm singing a lot of songs a lot. And
sure.
Yeah, because I think Beyond Me is probably my least favorite on here. Because I think, I mentioned this in my video, but you strip away all the instruments, you leave the keys and piano, and like you can hear like any pop singer singing this song, So, but yeah, I'm mostly all about like the beginning and the end. I think that's my favorite songs.
Yeah, I definitely think this album starts off really, really well. I was listening back because at least the first time that I listened through this album, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little underwhelmed, just because I wish I hadn't listened to the singles, and I kind of let this album unfold itself new in front of my ears for the first time, because when you listen to singles from an album, I feel like at that point, for me, I'm only waiting to hear the new songs, because obviously I've already been listening to the singles that they released for a while, and it's just like, okay, well, how does the rest of it stack up? Fitting in those pieces. And obviously, Rescued is good, Under You is really good, And then I heard Hearing Voices, and I was like, okay, this is a little bit of a dip, but that's okay. And then the title track fucking rips. I love hearing a Foo Fighters song in 7/4, dude. Just the ba 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 is very interesting to hear. And then you had the wildness at the end with the drums going, you know.
Yeah.
That song rips. I hate that I can barely see the text on here.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I feel like The Glass is okay. I feel like The Glass is Dave Grohl doing his best Roger Waters impression. I feel like it sounds like the Foo Fighters trying to write a Pink Floyd song. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And again, Show Me How is my favorite because it's just on every level. I know it's very simple, but I love the way that all of the instruments come together. It feels a lot like some of the songs on the second disc of In Your Honor, where it slows down, and I like the drum part on that. I love I gotta figure out her name, but the
Viola
the female
Grohl.
voice on that. Oh, it's Viola?
Yeah.
Is that his daughter?
I'm assuming.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know it was his daughter. I thought it was the same woman that sang on In Your Honor, but I guess not.
Nope.
Interesting.
It's all the Grohls.
Honestly, that makes it a little bit better for me. Yeah, and then I think that's where the album kind of loses me, because Beyond Me is like you said, I feel like you could have a bunch of different people singing it, and for me, it came off across as like I don't think this is the case, but it sounded like they were trying to write a song that would be played during like an in memoriam part of like an award show. You know, it almost sounded like you would see a slideshow of like a person's life along to that song. And it was written to sound that way. And the teacher, I thought the teacher was a little boring. I feel like when it comes to 10-minute songs, that might not be the band's strong suit. Because every section kind of felt like a little same. Like, obviously the first section and the last section are a little bit slower, but the middle section, like the 7 minutes at the beginning, in the middle, I feel like is just the first two sections, but sped up a little bit more with heavier guitars. Like, I don't feel like it changes a whole lot throughout over the course of the 10 minutes to justify being that goddamn long. So at a certain point, I was just waiting for it to be over and listening for any like really cool parts. And then rest was just a lot of noise, which I feel like was the point, to feel like cathartic. And I liked the effect of turning the gain all the way up on the instruments, on the guitars and the voice and the drums. Because I feel like Dave Grohl and like the rest of the band, I feel like they really were working through a lot of emotions on this album. And so, just like when you're working through emotions in real life, some parts of it are going to be a little ugly, and they're not going to be very pretty or polished, and it's just nice to get them out, And I feel like that's what this song kind of represents, is like the anguish and the grief of processing all of these complicated emotions and just wanting to get shit out, So some songs here work really, really well and make me super sad. And some songs on here are just like, okay, well, I hope that was, I hope that like felt cathartic to like write down and let out and stuff like that. So I think I would have to go back and listen to Medicine, because at the end of the day, like, I think at a certain point I have to look at this objectively, because as much as I want to be like, I'm a Foo Fighters fan, and like losing Taylor was like obviously terrible, and like, it's a very traumatic thing, but like musically and production wise, obviously there are better albums from the Foo Fighters. So I'm like, I don't know, it'll grow on me, I'm sure. And just like any album that they put out, I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, so sorry for not giving you a whole lot of wiggle room, but
I just put out a video today talking about this album, so
yeah. So if you want to hear David's in-depth response,
basically we have the exact opposite opinion on these songs. All the songs that you said dipped down, those are my favorite. I fucking love hearing voices. That shit got stuck in my head so hard, and like the ending of that song when it like morphs into it sounding like you just being in the recording studio, that was really cool. The Teacher, bar none, my favorite song on here.
Rough.
Especially like when it gets to like that 7-minute mark, and that little lead that comes in when the drums come back in. Oh, it sounds so damn good. And I really like Rest. I just kind of wish it stayed clean instead of going back to heavy, because The Teacher kind of ended really heavy.
Yeah.
And then this should have just been like, this is the outro, and not like, oh shit, we're going up again.
Right.
But yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I feel like, that's kind of poetic in a way. Because this album, we both, as Foo Fighters fans, we found different songs on here that we really gravitated towards. And, like, I don't think that ever happens. I don't think there's ever an album that comes out where we have, like, opposite opinions on certain songs, but, like, you put those opinions together and it creates a perfect album. I think that's funny. That, yeah, maybe this album wasn't made for anyone in particular, and I think that's the point, again, is just like, we're going to put stuff out there, and we're going to write down our thoughts and our feelings and stuff, and then whatever you guys latch onto, like, it's out of our control at that point. So there is a beauty to that, and there's a beauty to grief and Are you burping in the middle of my beauty speech?
Yeah, sure did.
Okay. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to pop this in every once in a while, because there are some really good songs on here. And on my long car rides, I was listening to a couple of Foo Fighters albums, and this definitely, it doesn't stand out, but it fits well within the pantheon of Foo Fighters albums.
Yeah, at work I've been going through 3 or 4 Foo albums every time, because I'm gonna redo their ranking. Because I think after a band releases like 2 things after I rank them, I can go back and redo it.
That's
and
fair.
Yeah, they've obviously have this new album, and then I'm gonna talk about the Dream Widow thing, and then I also am gonna include Saint Cecilia too. So I'll have like 3 extra things I'll talk about. So I think it's due. But yeah, I just have to hear the first one again, because I've been going backwards.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I listened to the first one. I was driving up to Sheboygan, and I listened to the first album. And yeah, I have thoughts, because I already did my ranking. I don't know where I would put, but here we are. Probably, I'd have to listen to Midnight again, Medicine at Midnight again, but I think this might be like one notch above it. Just for like the highlight tracks for me. I feel like I like the standout tracks here a little bit more than like the overall, but again, can't say for sure right here.
Indeed.
I haven't really thought about it. So anyway, keep an eye out for David's updated Foo Fighters ranking video, which I'm sure is coming out whenever.
Next week.
Oh, shit. Okay, so by the time this video goes up, it'll be out.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check that out.